Now we are ready for fruitful work because the topics that we discuss today are very interesting and really important for the investment policy of both on the market of the whole Ukraine and also in every region, and are characteristic of the regional policies. Today we've looked and listened to the practices of implementing investment projects in the Vinnytsia region. It was very pleasing to listen to the fact that what our colleagues from Zhytomyr, Kirovohrad, and Khmelnytskyi regions told us about. And now we move to the third block of our communication, and we are going to speak about a dialogue of the private speaker with international financial organizations that also take part in financing the investment projects in the region and like nationwide, and how this dialogue is being built and how this dialogue is going to be fruitful and beneficial for both sides, and thus the investment policy of financing these or those projects happens. In this third block, in an online mode, we'll have Alana Voloshina with us, will join us. She's the head of the representative office of the IFC in Ukraine. And now, please, your applause. Thank God offline. Rostislav Maraikin, regional coordinator on Eastern Europe in the field of renewable energy. Lyubov Semenyuk, the head of the executive board of the Vinnytsia food processing factory LLC. Evgen Vazhov, the commercial director of the Hyson dairy plant, and Elena Voroshilova, head of the vector of the development of trade and relations with the regions of UBTA, Ukrainian Business and Trade Association. And the moderator of this panel will be Elvina Seluzin, the head of the analytics department of the UkraineInvest. So please, within 40-45 minutes, we are going to learn about how we are going to cooperate with the international financial organizations. The search for the sources of financing is the issue that every entrepreneur is faced with one way or the other. And of course, one of such sources can be a bank loan, because it's quite an expensive capital, which additionally gives some additional requirements, for the loaded. As an alternative, it can be receiving a loan or a grant from an international financial organization. And it should be noted that the international financial organizations provide not only finances but also some organizational and technical support and support in implementing the best technical practices. About this and many other things, we are going to speak with our speakers. So, Lyubov, tell us about your cooperation with USAID. You've already received 2 grants from USAID, and also, could you please tell us which criteria should the applicant meet in order to get the grant from the international organization? Good afternoon. My name is Lyubov Semenyuk. I'm the founder and at the same time the director of the private joint stock company VHS. We produce food products. So we were founded in 1999 as the result of the reorganization of the plant for production, and actually we were one of the few who were able to preserve our staff and to actually move along with time. Of course, over these 21 years, we've done a lot to increase the volumes of production, to grow the pace of growth, because the clear profit was then invested into the development of our enterprise. We understood that there would be no development without, there will be no future without the development. But in order to increase the pace of the development and the growth of the production, the volumes of the production, and expanding the production in order to produce more added value, we also needed and we tried to find some loans or take part in various donor programs and projects. Thus, in 2017, we received the grant from Agency on International Development under the U.S. Congress. It's USAID under the program of agri-development. It was the refitting and re-equipping the production line for sauces and spices. This project was financed in terms of co-financing, of course, at the cost of this event. And due to receiving the grant, we've done a lot in terms of increasing the volume of production, growing the capacities, improving the capacities twice, improving the working conditions, and expanded the supplies of agricultural materials, raw materials, and products, decreased the energy consumption for the production, and also increased the volumes of processing the agricultural produce. But these achievements were achieved, but these things we achieved only through the grant. What challenges did we face in order to before facing and actually how we received this grant? But before we do that, of course, the first step was that this company should be legal and transparent. Of course, in order to get a co-financing, we should have your own capital. We do have this. We have very nice balance, and because of this, people and actually banks and other financial structures are very much ready to work with us and eager to work with us, and this was actually the reason so that our concept is approved. During the first step, our concept was approved, but after that we had a very long and hard work on cooperating with USAID, and of course this company should have all the meeting, all the permits. We should have the permits for disposal of hazardous waste. And in order to get the grant, obtain the grant, there was a previously conducted work by the experts conducted by Washington, D.C. They were present at the enterprise. They looked through everything. They looked at all the documents, and only afterwards, when we've passed the ecological expertise, we received the possibility to sign the grant agreement. After that, after we received it and signed the grant, we received the grant, and then step by step we moved on these goals and objectives that were written in the agreement. We didn't move neither step to the right nor step to the left, simply like very clearly stage by stage, step by step we moved along the tasks and objectives. Yes, due to the fact that we actually adhered to the plan and gave quarterly reports in the event, and actually I would like to say that also every step, every stage was controlled by an expert of the USAID project. They went to the enterprise. Every fact was photographed and then accordingly was sent to Washington. And I would like to say that for us it was a present. During all the years of our activity, we've paid a lot of money to the budget and the budget funds. And having received this grant, we did not expect actually that it was possible to do that, but we still got them. Financing this allowed us to drastically increase the volumes of production and to develop in a faster pace. Thanks to the fact that we showed our efficiency very clearly and correctly performed the tasks on the first grant in 2020, we got the opportunity to once again take part in another competition, the competitive economy of Ukraine. Our concept once again on introduction of new modern high-tech line on purification of the mustard seeds. Our concept was approved, and thanks to the fact that we have a history, a nice history of a good history, grant history. We received the second grant, and this allowed us to develop this enterprise further in a shorter period of time. We were able to expand the capacities of our production lines. We have the chance to now move to the export with our new products, not with the products, the food products that we go to different exhibitions and we don't get the results because we understood there is, unfortunately, people wait for us more with the raw materials and actually with the grain of the mustard, and so that's why the seeds of the mustard, and so that's why we need to move along with time. We need to give good salaries and we need to develop and move to the export markets with the things that people wait us with. So that's our story. But in addition to that, we've also actually spent a lot of our own funds. We understand very well that without the development, we have no future. And that's why we need to simply develop and to keep your employees and keep the stuff. Thank you.
Такий досвід успішної співпраці з МФО.
Good experience of successful cooperation. So considering summing up what you said, it's transparency, readiness to work fruitfully and within the system. Mr. Evgeny, your company has participated in forming of Ukrainian-German foundation within Europe business. That was that took leading places in business ratings in Ukraine. Tell us a few words. Well, let me greet the forum participants and the organizer team. Thank you for the invitation. Well, I represent Hysen Milk Dairy Plant. Our company has a rich history, and we have been founded in 1932. And all the history of our dairy plant is a history of transformation that I would share, that we would always need to transform, to change our production facilities, our equipment. Sometimes we do need some outer funds and we need to take loans, so we go to several organizations, and in 2017 we applied to Ukrainian-German Foundation, and that is a participant of international financial cooperation. And thanks to the support of the partner, Credit Bank, we have been given a loan, and we were given a loan that we could use for refurbishment of our equipment. Well, from my experience, because ProCredit Bank is a partner of the German fund, of Ukrainian-German fund, well, all the preparation has been done by them, so they helped us to formalize the documents. As for us, what we needed to show, that's transparency, how we are going to spend it, because German bank and German organizations, they need to see transparent financial reports. So we delivered them our financial reports and filed an application, and within several months we were successful to get the approval, no objection, and we got a loan that we could refurbish our equipment, remodernize. Equipment remodernization that gives you a possibility to invest in quality, in sustainability of the processes. That is why when we talk about applying to international financial organization, And if we talk about launching our products on the European markets, I would say that we need to remodernize, to upgrade in order to expand. Also, we need to knock on the door to apply cooperation with international financial cooperation. Gave us a possibility to give economic advantages that we could raise the quality of our products and render better, higher quality services. That is why I invite you to apply to international financial organizations. Thank you. So that's one more time we hear that we need to be transparent to deliver transparent financial reports in order to get the cheaper money. And now we have online Olena Voloshyna, the chief of IFC in
IFC
Ukraine.
багато років є надійним партнером
For
як
many
для
years, IFC have been a reliable partner for private investors. IFC has been helping to realize to implement projects, and Olena has been and IFC has been the principal counselor for regional councils within Kherson region, and has ambitious plans as for
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to speak after two such interesting and successful stories of Ukrainian business, which were able to attract the financing from the international sources. We are also such a source of financing and source of expertise. We represent the group of International World Bank, and we do it through private sector, and we do it by financing this private sector and also by creating favorable conditions for this sector. And those successful stories and best practices that we've heard about, that we could add maybe about a dozen of our clients, Ukrainian clients. These are such famous group, the Khanavtagas, the Astart, the Miron product, AgriFusion, and these are just those few companies that everyone knows and that everybody has heard of. And I'm very pleased to note that these companies truly we speak about this openness, transparency, structured financial information. These were the companies that were able to have a correct business strategy, and we gladly helped them financially to implement this strategy. Over the last year or year and a half, starting from the pandemics, IFC has responded by a specially allocated sum of money in the sum of $8 billion, which is actually a lot for our existing clients. And I'm very pleased that Ukrainian client was one of those. Nova Pereslishna was among those who was among the first ones to use this opportunity, and they actually got the money by the intensified procedures. I've already said, apart from the private sectors, we also deal with the support of the municipal structure. In Ukraine, we've started implementing municipal projects starting from Mariupol. It was the first program that was signed by us together with the governments of Switzerland and Austria, and this was the financing that was allocated for purchasing the technological transfer. Since then, we expand that program, and currently we have 3 cities. You've mentioned Smart City. We've implemented this project already in Zaporizhia, and Zaporizhia has become the first city in the Central and Eastern Europe region in which AFC is trying to implement such a program. And our Ukrainian city of Zaporizhia is the first city that where we try to implement this program. We have the package financing of $30 million for the municipality of the city of Zaporizhia. The main part will be spent on the environmentally environmentally friendly public transportation, but also there is a component which is called the smart city component, and here we speak about the provision of financing that can be used for installing the sensors that would measure the pressure in the water pipes and in the heat providing pipelines, and actually also about the sound systems that would allow the proper management of the city infrastructure. We hope that this program is successful and we will be able to implement it in other cities. Also, additionally, now we are signing together with Kryvyi Rih. We are speaking about the provision of modern tram park. We work with Kiev together with the World Bank in order to have a study the possibilities for complex solving of the transport issue for the city, and we also work with the city of Lviv, in where we speak about the purchase of modern trolleybuses that allow the trolleybuses to move for 15 kilometers without the connection to the electricity line, which would drastically increase the efficiency of the transport infrastructure. And we've also launched the e-mobility project, and I'm actually pleased that Vinnytsia has become one of the 5 cities where we do implement this project. And this project gives a complex view at the transport infrastructure, which would allow to find a solution of how should we shift to green technologies and green transportation technologies. And the first conclusion that has already been made by the specialists who implement this project is that Vinnytsia would be able to practically fully move to electricity transport. We've calculated that yes, the initial stage, the expenditures are going to be much higher. But if we calculate the expenditures for the fuel and maintenance of this transportation, and also we add the influence on the environment, then in fact it is economically viable and acceptable to shift to the fully electric public transport. And I think that we are going to work with the city further in this field. Thank you very much, and I'm ready to answer all your questions.
Today we also have a representative of FUN. FUN is an expert network of financial consultants that allows, that helps us and support the company owners to prepare the project ready to investment for investment. So, Mr. Rostislav, are there any owners of the projects? Do they apply to us in order to prepare the projects what they want to attract the money from international financial organization? Well, first of all, let me thank for the invitation. And yes, we are partners of investment organizations, and I would like to highlight such a professional trade, professional professionalism in creating the panel, because here we have financial organization, we have business, and we are the programs that helps, that supports business to get those financing from international financial organizations. And such a setting is very favorable. It's very good to demonstrate. And several words about UFUN. That's a program of UNIDA, United Nations program. We have been working from 2006. I have been managing the region of Eastern Europe and Asia. So there are 15 countries here. Ukraine is among them, and because I'm here located in Ukraine, I also manage also I'm the country coordinator, Ukrainian coordinator. Since 2019, we have been developing the region, and altogether we have been working all around the world. As a project, we have attracted more than 2 billion of investments, and our program, and I would like to highlight, and we offer free consultations as to preparation of projects in order to get to attract investments, to ask for investments, how we do it. And I'm often asked And that is why people are often curious how it is possible that we offer it free, but that's because of where you need a program. That's what we where is you need to get the money of which you expect that you should pay for our services. They take the money from the Australian, Swedish, Norwegian, United States sponsors. And the program is financed thanks to the donations from the sponsors, from the donors. And what we do, we pay for directly to the consultants that they come and consult your projects, your company, and that is how it works free for businesses, for companies. Well, we are a kind of a bridge that unites business and investments. And very often it happens that very good projects that are being prepared for investments, they are not structured till the end. They somehow not comprehensible when considering all the risks that the investor wants to see the picture, how are you going to place them and mitigate them. And on that stage, we sustain business people to prepare very good business project, financial model, so that it would be written in English, so that it would be a project ready for investment. That is what we do, what we actually do. We finance the consultants that render consultants to business. It's not only to business, not only to countries. We have started to work with municipal projects. And very actively we have been developing the project written by amalgamated communities when working, when developing their projects, and also helping them, giving them idea what projects they may write, they may apply, and the communities, they have got lots of issues, lots of troubles, and somehow they need to start from the issue to problem solving and to create a project that would find the solutions, and that's how we work out the whole procedure, how we work. We accept applications. We have quite a user-friendly website that also has gives information how to file an application, and we accept applications 24/7, and it's once in 3 months that we somehow we process this accepted applications. Sometimes our terms to file the application, they don't coincide with real quotas, so be attentive, read attentively what are the terms, and then we also run workshops and trainings and explain how to write a business plan. We don't do it like a conference or a workshop. It's just it's individual consultant from the country that applies for the support for the projects, and the consultant should be speaking your language, should be located in your countries, and have certain experience in your branch. And then when we somehow when we help with your projects, and when it is already ready for investing, sometimes we are in matchmaking, and when we help you to find the finances, the funds that needed to implement your project. What is important, we don't have the right, we don't ask you for the rights, for the intellectual rights, for implementation, for writing your business projects. We are not looking. It doesn't mean that it will be us to look for the funds and your investors. We invite you to look for the investors, to look for the loans, for the money. IFO and banks. We have different stages of global partnerships. We have established global partnerships with international Monetary Fund. It's our global partner. We work with EBRD, with European Investment Bank and several other organizations. It's on the global level. That is why we can work in every other country. Well, maybe I take a long time to tell lots of things about us, but talking about best practices, we had quite a good case from last year. The idea is how it happened. The company industry that produced Euro pellets and exports these Euro pellets, they would produce these pellets, so they would also use wood planks for this Euro pellets, and they had lots of wood residues, which they needed somehow to use and utilize and to make it energy efficient and in an economical way. So what idea they have got, their idea, the first idea that they could just burn it in order to get thermal energy and electricity for their company. But because they are not specialists in energy production, so they applied to us with the idea that we could help them to work out this project. And as I mentioned, they were not somehow, they even bought a turbine that later they would not use it, and that is why I say, like, first draft a plan. Well, that these were costs that they incurred because they were not specialists. But with our support, so we gave explanation, we offered them some guided tours to the companies that are engaged in the same kind of business or have the same kind of equipment. We talked it over. What investment they need. It was about 12 million of investment. We prepared the warehouses and we attracted the investor for this project that allowed to implement it. Why this case is interesting? The investor, after having considered the project with the use of biomass, they of course controlled the business, and the investor joined the business. So instead of 12 million for the separate project, we attracted the investor. So practically it's not about the energy efficiency effects that, but he was so much interested in the company, so that he invested in this business, they expanded it, and now they are planning to build another company in Kyiv region and in Lviv region. So it's quite an interesting case when the money attracts money, investment attracts investment. One more time, let me thank you for the invitation and for your attention. Thank you. Well, I think we need just to tell more in detail about cooperation with International Monetary Fund. It's very important to highlight that the projects that one would apply for, they should have this green component, and the International Financial Organization have been supporting the projects of green finances and sustainable development. So it's kind of match. Oh, thank you, yes, for reminding that it's a crucial point in our program. That's it's a risk clean project. It's this green project component. We don't take all the applications. We accept the applications with the ecological component. It's either decrease of
So it's either the reduction of CO2 emissions or the adaptation to the climate. So the projects that were submitted to us should have these components. It's the fields of application is not only renewable energy, it will also be agribusiness, and it will also be medicine and tourism, and of course it can be the waste, and we have a very long list. And how do we attract the investments? In this case, it depends on how we have built the investment models at the stage of the preparation to the project. And we do understand what is necessary for the project. And, in most cases, we lack this. Traditionally, we lack the capital and good loaning. I mean, meaning the good percent. And of course, our projects they require investments into the own capital and the attraction of interesting in terms of an interest rate loans. So these are the projects that I speak about. So of course, respectively, after the preparation of the project, after drafting the project, we address with the investment motors to the pool of all our partners, and we send the information to all of it, to the banks, to the IFC, and to the private investors, and we also partner with investment structures. And in this case, it's a very interesting synergy effect that may be observed. It's not a secret that there is a lot of money in this world. Really, that's true. But the difficult part is to get this money. And with us, it's like large investment companies are happily cooperating with us because they do save on the expenditures. So in order to fill in the portfolios, they need to have their representation offices in every country, some certain network to go there, to have some business trips and create communications. And in this case, they simply come to us, they get the ready-made projects, they can look at the teaser. If they're happy with the teaser, they can look and actually view the main documents and make a decision regarding the investments, saving on the expenditures, on increasing the income, and so on and so forth. So that's why the investors and the large banks are interested in cooperating with us. Thank you. And also with us today is also Valena Varashilova, the representative of Ukrainian Trade and Business Association. She will not speak about mostly of the sources of financing, but also mostly on the activities and measures that would help the entrepreneurs to get additional financing in the future. Dear guests and participants of the forum, I'm happy to welcome you here at the platform, which unites the representatives of the business, the representatives of the power, and the public. And actually, on whose behalf I'm actually speaking here today, the Ukrainian Association, Business and Trade Association is a non-for-profit organization which is a platform for export-oriented companies which are united around the idea of sustainable development and the establishment of such strong business ties between Ukraine, the countries of the European Union, of Europe in general, the countries of African countries, the Middle East, and Asia. It should be noted that in Ukraine, currently, we have quite a large number of business communities, and very often I'm asked on how is your association significantly different from the others. So I would like to focus on these differences. First of all, I would like to say that for the Ukrainian business, we act as a politically neutral partner, which at the same time has quite an influential voice in Ukrainian state institutions. At the same time, we quite actively cooperating with our international partners because we are registered in Europe, namely in Brussels. We have our own office in Brussels, and in Berlin we work. We also have a team there, and we are registered in the EU Transparency Register as the official lobbyist. That allows us as an association to help the business on establishing some close ties with our partners who facilitate the establishment of B2B contacts, on the quality of which depends the further cooperation of our exporters with international consumers, suppliers, counteragents. At the same time, it should be noted that the association is very closely cooperates with the bodies of state power. Namely, we are basically the back office of the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine on European and Euro-Atlantic integration, Ms. Olga Stefanishina, and the Deputy Minister of Economy, the Trade Representative Taras Kachka, and we are actively cooperating with the ministries. Namely, first of all, we signed a memorandum with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, within the framework of which we've joined the Board of Investors and Exporters, and at the same time, the Ministry of Economy, due to a number of issues, on the number of issues in which we are actually related to both the business and the authority, we cooperate with them as well. At the same time, it should be, I think, mostly focus on some key aspects of the activity of the association, which lie in on the fact that we were created as an association for the business, and thus we form our structure, our committee structure that foresees or presupposes the establishment of sectoral committees that direct their activity on providing for the needs of our members and partners, primarily the export-oriented companies. What do we speak about? First of all, for example, when the company is planning, for example, the company works in the agrarian sector, and thus it faces a number of problems, or as it's often said, some bottlenecks, which does not allow to realize the potential that the company really has. So we organize such members into a committee, and then we work in such fields and factors as legislative initiative, and this is the drafting of normative and legislative documentation on terms of currently it is, for example, about deregulation of obtaining procedures. It's the veterinary medications. This is regulating the pesticides and plant protecting substances, and also we speak about the safety of child feeding and also the beekeeping sphere and so on and so forth. At the same time, also, our association deals with the support of the small entrepreneurs and small producers, and in this case, we've used the innovative approach because we do support the supporters through developing a regional program of craft production, craft-oriented production. Each of us, I think, at least once a year, face with the problem of the craft produce. But at this time, it's not a regulated field, and actually the legislative regulation and understanding of which sector of food sector should this production be actually related to. So the Agrarian Committee works with that. And I think that the key aspect that should be noted also is actually the work that lies in the development of a roadmap on the transformation of the food production lines. And this is a very exhausting and demanding work, which actually is focused on the change of the approaches in the agri field, and that is aimed at increasing the level of safety of the food products as well as actually all food produce in general. And at the same time, it should be noted that this roadmap was developed with the consideration of modern tendencies and especially within the framework of climatic change. Strange as it may seem, currently all these position documents and provision documents, policy documents, they should take into consideration all the environmental challenges that the planet is facing today. And so we have smoothly moved to the second leading committee that functions within our association. This is a Sustainable Development and European Green Course Committee, or Green Vector Development Committee. Actually, all of us as an end consumer or a businessman faces faces the everyday strictening of the norm of the environmental legislation and ecological legislation, and thus it all requires additional financing, both for the business people. This is the need to attract additional investment in order to implement those projects, to modernize the equipment. And this all is a challenge for our business people, and our business representatives, unfortunately, are not yet well aware of all the key aspects, and very often they do not want to plunge into in-depth knowledge. But however, our team really helps them to do it, and we prepare the analytical selections that allow them to monitor the national environmental legislation and directly the international legislation. In this case, we speak about the fact that our our analytical experts and our support team, they don't only translate the position that has a place in Europe, but they also give proposals as to the adapted approach in order for the European green course to not to move into the dead end for the business, not to become a dead end of the business. At the same time, we are actively working on studying the provisions related to the CBAM, which was announced by the European Commission this year in July this year, and it's foreseen as a tool of additional taxation of the CO2 trace in certain categories of the goods. It's all very interesting, but unfortunately, our speaker says that we have a very limited time in a YouTube channel. That's why we have to be a bit maybe more laconic, really just a few words. So, apart from the Sustainable Development Committee and the European Green Course, we also have a pharmaceutical committee that deals with the issues of promoting Ukrainian medications on the European market and overcoming the non-tariff barriers. And at the same time, the Ukrainian Association of Trade and Business and Trade is also the prom campaign with the involvement of the BBC on the platforms, on the internet platforms of BBC. The information is placed about Ukraine as a country which is a reliable trading partner, the center of a leading IT thought, and currently we are dealing with filming the video about Ukraine, which will be broadcasted in the second half of September on the BBC channels. And in the end, I would like to say that the key aspect of the work of the association is a B2B vector, which we organize through our trade missions, through processing the appeals and demands for the market, sales markets, and opening the new markets, export markets, and on certain events, just a few seconds, that the measures and activities that we organize, they are actually topical events, and they're focused on the topics, and they're dedicated to the topics that we focus on, and currently we are planning on holding regional activities, so that's why we are now preparing for the event that is going to take place in Khmelnytsky. We also got the support from the Vinnytsia state administration. We've agreed upon the certain conditions and the concept of holding such an event. So that's why I invite everyone interested. And if there are questions after the event, I'm ready to answer the question. Thank you. Thank you for the invitations. And I thank you for this interesting talk and an interesting discussion. Then we are now finishing. Thank you. Thank you very much.